Hey there, guys. I'm Stephy Steph, and this is Bobby,
Hey.
and we've got a special episode of Between Two Teeth.
That's right. This is a fireside chat.
Fireside chat,
It's
Harvard
getting
Business.
cold. It's getting cold in Dallas.
Harvard Business Review chat.
Harvard Business Review. The recent one came out. We're looking at an article.
Yes. So we'll dive in. So the Perils of Achievement Culture is the title of this article. So just
Guilty.
to kind of
Are you guilty? Are you
brace
guilty?
yourself.
Are you guilty of this?
I think a lot of people,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd use the word guilty of it because that's a negative connotation. We're an unbiased review source.
Oh, that's right. Well, so I guess you're not going to let me say suffer from the perils of the
Oh, I
achievement
think
culture.
I think you can absolutely suffer from the perils of achievement culture.
Well,
you got
let's
to define it first, though.
Well, so let me read a part here that when I read this, I kind of marked it off, and it said, we know that professional perfectionism, the feeling that no amount of success is ever enough, comes at a heavy cost to our well-being. We're in the well-being space with a bunch of things that we're doing. We see sort of the risks out there. You know, I heard from people last week that just, they're in a tricky spot. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with achievement. Am I enough? Am I doing enough?
It's so tough as a young professional to know how to walk the balance here. You're trying to figure out when you're going to start your family, make big purchases like a home, decide where you're going to go to residency. And that could mean a move to a different city. That could mean getting away from an ailing parent or making new friends somewhere else. So at what point do you start to embrace some of the cautions in this article?
Well, and we talked about this article, and you mentioned pain points. And just, can you tell me more about that?
I think the biggest pain point is the idea of maximizing one's potential and defining success and battling external affirmations and balancing that with the quality of the relationships you have. And I think at some point along the line, you go from putting yourself first and defining who you are as a person and identity, and you morph into someone who is more focused on the quality of the relationships you have, sticking in uncomfortable situations and trying to make it work with the people that you have in your life versus bouncing from pond to pond, chasing after that next achievement.
The constant chase.
Right.
You know, if you think that money will bring you fulfillment and joy and happiness, I don't think you'll get there. You know, it'll constantly be a chase. Same with things. If you think things will bring you happiness, there'll always be another thing and another. How's that hat?
Hat's
These are our
great.
Peruvian hats.
Oh yeah, very cool hats.
You know, I like the look of yours. I think mine looks silly, but man, does it keep you warm?
It's just
Yes.
this top thing that
All right,
really.
listen, back into the article.
So
back
sorry,
into
I thought you made your point.
One of the things, I never make my point. I like when you read that part in this article about overshooting planetary and human thresholds.
Right.
That's kind of what we do.
Well, it's also based, the other part of that was a psychology of economics that's based on these overshoots. So as, you know, especially in the United States, we tend to be tied to this economic hamster wheel that is perpetuated. I'm going to sound crazy.
Are you on the wheel?
Oh yeah, but it's perpetuated by social media and advertisements. We're all susceptible to this. We may not all kind of follow the rabbit, you know, the trail as much as others, but our system encourages production.
It does.
And it encourages things and status.
And if I can, the article talks about China's intense 996 culture. I had no understanding of this. The 996 stands for employees work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. And they also reference that 1,600 people work themselves to death every day in China through heart attack or suicide. And they're getting some people pushing back and saying, I'm not going to do that.
And I think that's so. Here's the challenge, and we talk about this with endurance athletes and endurance sports. Is it's not hard work that we want to shy away from. If we find ourselves in the right work, chasing meaning and being around the right people that are healthy relationships in a positive environment, yes, spend a lot of time in that environment. I think the trick here is sometimes, or oftentimes, how do we even find what that kind of work is? We're thrown into work or a job at 18, or we're continuing to chase these things as a young person. And at 40 or 50, typically, you wake up and you realize, why am I on this hamster wheel?
Right.
And you misinterpret work as a bad thing. It's not the actual working. The hard work is a good thing in life.
Let's take
it's the meaning.
Let's take it back into what we've done, especially post-COVID. And we've talked about it before. We get a lot of pushback for taking some of the adventures. We're getting ready to head off to Thailand. We actually work. We have jobs, but we've also looked at it and said, we don't want to work 60 hours a week.
And I hear you on that. And it's not, it's not that, like, again, it's not that working is bad, and it's not that achievement is bad.
You've been pushed by people that tell you should be working more. You're at the start of your career.
Right, but
work more.
Of course. So if it's coming from somebody that finds deep meaning and significance from that one aspect of their life, of course, that's their truth, and I hope they would give me that advice. But the point in life is not to heed advice from everybody in totality.
Well, and I would say what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you or work for anybody else. I think, see what's going on out there. And talk to people and say, oh, this is good for me. This is not good for me.
And we shouldn't villainize our economic system and our culture of achievement. America is founded on capitalism, and capitalism is achievement in itself.
Right. But then we talk about thresholds, and I think, so let's talk about warning signs. If, as I said, we talk a lot about well-being. It's very easy to be out of balance. In fact, I think most of us are not balanced most of the time. But warning signs like if you're not getting enough sleep, if you can't go to sleep at night, or you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're worrying about something involving work, if you don't have time to exercise or diet properly, what are other warning signs?
I think the big warning signs are you leaving a metaphorical trail of bodies? So what I mean by that is including your own. Are you
I like that.
Are your friendships lasting 6 months or less? Are you having problems with family? Are you not relating to your kids? Are you are you seeing signs of aging faster or more rapidly than you would have hoped for? Are you tired constantly? You can look at the physical and emotional warning signs within yourself, and then also within your relationships. And not every relationship you have, but the most important ones in your life.
Yeah.
And you can start to see, okay, am I getting the most out of life?
I ask yourself, how am I doing, really? Yeah. And most of us are going to know that answer. I
think at least one time a year, you should try to take a tough, maybe a little bit painful, hard look at how you are doing, how you personally are doing, how you're doing with your relationships. Maybe you take a weekend and go somewhere. Maybe it's by yourself, maybe it's with your inner circle, but you really take a look at yourself and see how you're doing and where you want to go the next year.
I think it's probably insightful and helpful and important to know that much of the time things are not going to be perfect. We had an opportunity to talk to the president-elect of the American Dental Association a week ago, and he was celebrating 25 years in recovery and had to make certain decisions. But we kind of talked about the struggle that many people have right now. And it's not, life can be very complex.
Right. And I think as humans, it's hard to not compare ourselves with the successes that others are having.
Yeah.
And that's where social media and advertisements come into play.
Yeah.
And that's what this article is talking about with the perils of achievement. But the fine distinction here is that if you chase achievement and leadership and success, if you chase these fancy cars, money, for the sake of just that thing, and you disregard everything else in your life, I think that is what the meat and potatoes of this article is about. That, yes, culture, trap, that hamster wheel. That's okay. This friend is doing this. My parents had this car at this age, or I am doing this while, my buddy is with their kids doing that. Yeah. That's the problem.
All the data kind of support experiences will bring you more joy. Referencing back to our hats, we had the ability, I think where we got these hats was a very small local community that had to live off the land. These things are colored from plants that were, grown there. It can be a challenge. For me, hiking the Inca Trail up to Machu Picchu was about knowing that things can be a struggle.
Oh yeah, and that's the point, and that's the danger of reading an article like this.
Danger.
That's the danger of reading an article like this.
It is dangerous. Do not read this article. Is that what you're saying?
That's a very extremist view.
Okay.
I'm just saying that it's dangerous to read an article like this without perspective. If you are in high school and are in reading the perils of an achievement culture,
they're like, I give up.
Yeah, you might find yourself in a lackluster life.
Right.
However, if you're 40 and you are having problems relating to your kids or relating to yourself and what you really want this life to be, this article might be for you.
Interesting. Well, and I think with anything that's out there, it's either going to have an appeal or not an appeal. With us and the way we do things with Between Two Teeth, some people are going to pick up what we're putting down. Many others will say, no, not at all. We're just going through life, man.
If you chase achievement for external validation, you are running away from your problems.
Oh, we've said that many a time.
Versus experiencing the pride of having an achievement based on pursuing your meaning and then the intrinsic motivation and reward that comes with that. That's where it's at.
For this article, did it say anything to you, or was there a big takeaway for you, or are you still kind of getting that info?
This is a great article for people in different phases of life, but the commonality is they are seeking something, they are chasing something, they are at their rope's end of it. It doesn't mean they should quit.
Yeah.
But they need to know. I speak to us as well, when to put the oxygen mask on yourself.
Yeah.
And taking a break doesn't mean quitting.
Right. And I think we've kind of aggressively tried to do that, or it just happened that we do that.
In this article, it talks about being excellent. They laud excellence but downplay perfection. To me, what's the difference? How would you say excellence and perfection? What's the difference?
Well, I think they're slightly different. Perfection is perfection. And it's usually unattainable. And striving for perfection and perfectionism can cause a whole lot of trouble.
I would argue that perfectionists argue the difference between excellence and perfection.
Oh, there we go.
And I know a lot of people who are incredibly happy in life. No. I know a lot of people that are incredibly happy in life that would never even read this article because they're not even trapped up by achievement culture.
Yeah.
The people that read this article and who subscribe to the Harvard Business Review, hello, nice to meet you. I'm Steph and this is Bob.
I go by Bobby.
We are all, the people who are watching this, we're all in the same, we are biased readers reading this article because we're dreamers and we're seekers.
Dreamers
and so I think taking an article like this and putting it in perspective is paramount. Do not stop chasing your dreams.
For me, putting it in perspective is you can do too many things. You can try to do too many things. You can actually do too many things. I like your idea of take a beat and look at things and say, am I happy where I'm at?
Yes.
Am I content?
Yes.
What do I need to do? It's possible to do too much. It's possible to overthink.
Do not be trapped by your own mind's
Don't
goals.
be trapped by your own mind. Be careful. Be careful what you're telling yourself in your own mind. Well, listen,
Absolutely.
guys. Thank you for joining us. It's a Harvard Business Review.
Yes.
We should mention
It's a burr.
A what?
A burr, silent H. HBRR.
Oh, it's a silent H. A burr. Should it be
burr.
a silent H?
Why not?
Okay, I guess it is. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. If you like what we're talking about, hit the subscribe. Bye.